I feel like adults too can pick up a language at any age if and when they choose to do so. There was this one lady who'd signed up with us for learning French. So we like to kind of have a conversation and understand, what's your objective? So we asked her and she's like, oh, so my son, he's marrying someone who's French speaking. And at their wedding, I want to give a speech in French. A lot of this, like the path or the spaces just kept choosing me. I didn't really plan it. And every time I talk about it, I feel so grateful. So I had a friend who was in HR. And she called me up one day saying that our company is looking for like a communication training program. Would you be interested? I was like, yeah, okay. So the one thing I learned was you have to say yes. Is make the programs as interactive, as engaging, and as experiential as possible. Because one thing that I have seen time and again is the minute you start teaching or preaching, it doesn't work. Everything that we do from a pricing standpoint comes from that space. So what is the value? What is the impact I'm creating, the value I'm giving, and the experience I'm creating? Yeah, I think one of the biggest mistakes I feel that I committed is I didn't know how to take feedback from my clients.
Oh.
This is one field, wherein you're really impacting or have the power to impact so many lives in a really beautiful way.
Hi all, welcome to the Strategic Pulse. I'm your host Praveen. Today we have Niyati Bapat as our podcast guest. She is a psychologist turned entrepreneur who's the founder of Lingo Nest. She helps people learn languages and build soft skills. Stay tuned and watch the entire episode. Thank you. So, hi Niyati. So for all our viewers, can you please briefly explain what you exactly do?
Okay, so if you read like what my, this one line sentence or bio says, as we say it, I think it's a dreamer, entrepreneur, trainer, coach and teacher. So I am running Lingo Nest, which is a language academy offering wide variety of courses in languages such as French, Spanish, German, English, then we have Japanese, Mandarin, Hindi, Marathi and Sanskrit. So these are all the languages that we train or offer training in at Lingo Nest. Additionally, I'm also a trainer, interpersonal skills trainer for corporates, and in many ways also coach, especially in the space of communication.
Okay.
So these are the different things or the spaces that I've been operating in.
Okay. So can you walk us through your journey? What led you to become an entrepreneur?
Okay, so now here's the interesting thing about my journey, if we are calling it that. It was never planned. So it was never like, okay, this is what I want to do or I want to move forward and, build something of my own. And I always say this actually, and I've said it for a long time, that I didn't choose any of this. It sort of feels like it chose me.
Wow.
In the sense that I had completed my master's in psychology. And I did that from the London School of Economics, came back here. I was working with this company called Millward Brown in market research. And it was a fantastic experience. I really enjoyed it. And then at one point this happened. So I'd also studied French back in college. So I'd studied it through Alliance Française. Now, interestingly enough, I think one or two aunties bumped into my mom and, happened to say that, do you know anyone who teaches French? So my mom comes home and she's like, do you want to teach French? And I'm like, what? So she's like, yeah, there were these 2-3 aunties. They were saying that, their kids have French in school and they'd love to kind of, study French, learn it somewhere. I was like, okay, I'm working Monday to Friday. If they're open to coming on the weekends, I'd love that. So that's how it actually started, in my room on one small table with like 2 or 3 kids who came in. And I started teaching. It was a lot of fun. I really genuinely enjoyed it. I think it was a matter of months, and from those 2-3 kids, it moved to like 20.
Oh, wow.
Then it was 50, and then it just kept growing till a point where my parents were like, you need to leave the house. You can't be taking classes out of the house. And I was like, yeah, I agree. So that's when I had to kind of make a choice in terms of, do I want to continue with Millward Brown or, kind of build this up. So I decided that, okay, I'd like to take a chance at this and see how it goes. So that's how I quit my job and then started Lingo Nest.
Okay.
Initially, it was just French and English because I was just like, okay, I need to do something else, not just French. So I had a friend who also happened to quit her job at the same time. And I was like, why don't you come teach English? Because she was brilliant at it. She is brilliant at it.
Okay.
So she was actually the first person on my team. And yeah, I mean, it started like that. And then over the years, we kept building up. And then there were more languages.
Okay.
And more students and more teachers, and now we like have a full proper team that's kind of conducting these teaching training programs.
Wow. So, since you mentioned you studied psychology at London School of Economics, then you went to market research, and then you started Lingo Nest.
Yeah.
So these are like almost 3 separate fields. So how did this purely come out of passion for entrepreneurship, or did you like feel ki because the kids in it, like you started from your room, you thought ki people are liking what you're teaching, they're learning, so you thought you can probably explore the entrepreneurship side?
Honestly, there was no entrepreneur drive, so to say, at that point in time. And I mean, I didn't even look at it like that.
Okay.
I just enjoyed what I was doing and I wanted to do more of it.
Okay.
And I think the idea that I can build something of my own, whatever that might be, however small or big, was something that excited me.
Okay.
This is mine and I can, kind of create something and, bring offer value, build it in my own way and bring my unique understandings and learnings to it. I think that sort of excited me.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, I don't think that there was any drive like I want to, it didn't start off with, okay, here's what I want to do. It just felt like I was enjoying it and I was like, okay, I want to do more of it.
Okay.
And this felt like a way that I could do more of it.
Okay. That's very nice. So in today's age and time, what do you think is the role of language and interpersonal skills?
I think it's so important, right? Because it's how we connect. It's through language, it's, through communication and all of these skills that we're able to talk to each other. I understand that technology is, has advanced greatly, and very often there are these conversations about how is this going to work in terms of, technology and then, languages, because you can just rely on AI to give you a lot of answers today.
Right.
See, I think while technology helps us connect, it can't replace connection.
Okay.
Connection's still very human, right?
Right.
It's you and me sitting here and talking and having this conversation.
Yeah.
And I think that's the role that your interpersonal skills, communication or language play, because it's through language that you and I can have this conversation, can connect, can share what we are feeling, what we are thinking, and I think that's very, very core to humans.
Right.
If we think about human beings, they love to talk.
Right.
They love to share. I want to share. And I want to be able to share what I'm thinking, what I'm feeling, and I want to be understood.
Right.
And I think that's all very, very human. So I believe it's extremely important.
And with ChatGPT and Duolingo there, like what do you think is the future of human-led training?
I have to be honest, every time someone asks me this question, I feel a little like nervous in terms of, because we don't know. No one knows what the future is. But let me, what I feel when you say Duolingo or ChatGPT or any of these things, I think they're fantastic additions to the learning ecosystem. And they have done us so well because they make knowledge so accessible very quickly, and also in so many ways it's personalized sometimes, right? So I think they are very, very good support systems. In fact, even at Lingo Nest, with our students, we often use Duolingo. Because it's a fun way to learn, right? So why don't you go and practice something on Duolingo? Or, there are students who come and tell me, I've been learning the language on Duolingo. I'm like, great, that's fantastic.
Okay.
So I think they are very, very important, and they should be used as those tools which can make the learning experience, can enhance the learning experience so much more, because they can do that. But at the same time, I don't see human-led coaching or training as irreplaceable.
Okay.
Because I feel like there's so much more you bring as a teacher or a trainer to that space of teaching or training, right? Because there is empathy, there's a lot of feedback, emotional feedback, real-time feedback. I'm also able to pick on so many things and speak to your unspoken needs. See, when you talk about like a chat GPT or any of these applications, they're all information heavy.
Right.
And they give you access to a lot of information, which is great. But I think learning and training and teaching happens beyond that, right? There is
Right.
a space that we create, and there's a relationship that exists between a teacher and a student, a trainer and a trainee, which is far bigger than the subject itself, but does impact how you actually receive or process the subject.
Right.
Even if I'm to think back at my own life, and look back at my own life and reflect and think of all the teachers and coaches, I think they've had such a great impact on my life. And of course, I could have accessed the information anywhere, but it's
Right.
the experience they created which actually brought the subject to life. So I feel like while these are fantastic tools and they should be used, the future is in many ways hybrid. So how we use these tools, but I don't see how you can actually replace this entire human-led space because again, I think learning, teaching, coaching is very human. So how do you remove the human element out of it?
No, no, absolutely well said. In fact, in 11th standard, when I took up accounts, so my class teacher, who was also my accounts teacher, like taught us accounts so well that I eventually like developed interest in accounts and I became a chartered accountant as well. So yeah, I can't imagine a machine teaching me accounts in such a way that my teacher taught me.
Yeah.
So I definitely agree with you that and that both can go hand in hand and AI can be used as a tool to further enhance your knowledge and skills, but like you said, it may not replace human training entirely.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to believe that. I hope so. But I mean, I don't see it happening because, like you rightly said, how many of us and so many people that you speak to, you will often hear these stories. I just love this subject. Oh, why? Because the teacher is so
Teacher
good.
is so good, yeah.
And I think that that's the power of a great teacher or a great trainer. They make you fall in love with the subject.
Right.
So information, yes, can be accessed everywhere and anywhere today with a few clicks.
Right.
But what that information brings in terms of value and meaning to your life, I think a teacher trainer has a big role to play in that.
Right. No, no, absolutely well said. So, just for our viewers and for general knowledge, which is the most spoken language across the globe?
See, I think it still happens to be English.
Okay.
Then there's Mandarin and Spanish as well, which are quite widely spoken. Mandarin, I mean, sure, in terms of number, and Spanish, I think, is widely spoken. But I mean, here in and around, at least as students, what I see, or the languages that are really, really sought after, I would say are French or Spanish. Most of the learners who come to us are looking to kind of learn these two languages.
And do they? So usually the people who come to learn languages from you, what is their purpose? Are they learning it for their academics? Are they learning to because they're traveling? Are they learning for their corporate purposes?
I think all of the things that you just said, because some of
Okay.
them, see, today a lot of schools are offering these languages, so it has become part of the academic curriculum, especially for your international schools.
Right.
So yes, that's one big space that we also tap into. Apart from that, there are a lot of children, and I think that really makes my heart happy that there are children who don't have it in school, but they're like, we want to learn a language. And they are like studying the language, and then they go and give the relevant exams to also get certifications in that. So that entire learning accounts for something in the end, that, I'm certified in this level for this particular examination. So for Spanish, be DELE, for French, there's DELF. So, things like that. Yeah, so one is just out of hobby, love for learning. Then there are those who also have it as a corporate requirement. So maybe they're trying to set up businesses somewhere else, therefore need to know the language. Just helps build better connection. So then we have requirements and needs like that as well.
Okay. And say for someone who's willing to learn a new language but is struggling, what's your advice to them?
I think start small,
Okay.
stay consistent, don't chase perfection. I think this would be my little advice to anyone who is looking to learn a language. I think have fun with the process. Language learning is a lot of fun. So make that journey fun in any way that you like. So, if you're someone who likes to watch shows,
Right.
maybe watch shows in that language.
Okay.
You like music, listen to music in that language. Try and make the entire process as fun as possible. I also feel that, and that's, in fact, I'm saying this out of personal experience because I made this mistake. Very often we wait to get fluent to start speaking in the language.
Right.
Don't do that. Just start speaking. You know a few words, use those few words. And, fill it up with the other language then. But just start speaking because I think that really helps. And find an environment, a space which is comfortable and supportive where you can just practice without feeling conscious. So I think one thing that really helped for me, and this is very interesting, when we set up Lingo Nest and we got a team of French teachers, because until then I was teaching by myself, we actually created a space where we could start speaking to each other and practicing our language. And I was like, wow, this feels good because now I can speak, I don't have to hold back. I'm not constantly getting occupied by the fact of, how am I sounding, am I making mistakes? There is a space where we can just practice it without any judgment. So I think practice, find that space for yourself, create it with one or two friends or someone else who's learning the language and just keep practicing.
I like the fact that you said you should enjoy the process. So I believe that's applicable in all phases of life, whether it's career, whether it's learning a language. Should enjoy the journey and not the destination.
Yeah.
So since you have a clientele of children as well as adults, as per your research and experience, do you think children learn language faster than adults?
Interesting that you ask me that. I feel like I would say yes and no, in the sense that there's a lot of research that does say that children pick up faster for the simple reason, and there have been different research studies, right? So I remember reading somewhere up until the age of 6 or 7 when they're learning it, they learn it almost like a native language. So they're not, caught up in the grammar or syntax, but they're really picking up the language for what it is. There are other studies that say that, no, it continues up until you're 12, 13. So I think there is a lot of varied research on this. But definitely supporting and saying that the brains of children are more flexible. So they are able to really pick up, a pronunciation or language, they grasp it faster and in a more subconscious and intuitive sense. So they don't need to break it down and know, okay, what is the rule, so I use it like that. They just pick it up as words and they string it together and make sentences. So I think in that sense, yes, children have that knack to pick it up faster. I also feel it has a lot to do with their playful mindset again. See, they're not looking at learning a language, like I'm talking about really small kids. If you see when they start learning language, they're just learning it to communicate.
Right.
If I can get my point across, that's it. I don't want to do anything else.
Right.
So they figure out what are the ways which are going to get me the responses I want or need. So there is that intent that plays up, and there is also a lot of playfulness in the way they learn it because they're not worried about marks or how do I sound or, am I speaking it correctly? They don't care. As long as I can say it and you understand what I'm saying, my job here is done,
Right.
So I think it's also that attitude. But having said that, I feel like adults too can pick up a language at any age if and when they choose to do so. Because see, if you think about it, as adults, we have so many more cognitive strategies, learning strategies to our disposal now. There's so much experience. We're far more disciplined. So if we decide I really want to learn this language, I think we'll find a way to do that. And we can also pick it up very, very well. In fact, we've had students, who've enrolled with us at 30, 40, 45 for different reasons. In fact, as we're speaking, I remember this example. There was this one lady who'd signed up with us for learning French. So we like to kind of have a conversation and understand, what's your objective?
Right.
So we asked her and she's like, oh, so my son, he's marrying someone who's French speaking.
Oh.
And at their wedding, I want to give a speech in French.
Wow.
That's why I'm learning French. And she was, I think, well over 50.
Right.
But the way she picked up that language, because I think there was such a clear goal and there was so much heart in why she was doing it, and that she just picked up the language and just went for it. So I think that even adults can. It's not the age as much as it's the attitude or the mindset. Right. If we can have that childlike attitude or mindset,
right,
of I just want to learn and I want to have fun with it and I want to play with it. And that is actually the difference, right, between how children learn and adults learn. Children want to play with the language, adults want to perfect it.
Yeah.
Now, this perfectionist kind of mindset can really get in the way. So, if I can just find a way to, not be there and not worry so much about perfecting it, but enjoying it, I think you can learn at any age.
No, well said. In fact, like one of our previous speakers, the curious parent, is a independent researcher on parenting.
Yeah.
So he mentioned that kids are always in the present, and from the age 3 to 8, that's the maximum time. Like you said, it's like through like intuition or through subconscious mind or just in general native language. I mean,
Yeah.
so it becomes like their native language, so they can pick up things fast
Yeah.
and very easily from the
Yeah.
age 3 to 8. So, I mean, yeah, somebody else also had told this to us. So, yeah, I mean, good to hear this.
Yeah, and we also see this difference actually. So when I also sometimes tend to step into the classes of my teachers, when they step into a class of younger children, they're just like, already speaking the language and wishing you in that language, and, whatever words they've learned, they will just start throwing it at you. But the minute, you're in your teens, you're holding back a little more because you're like, if I say or if I speak in this language, then maybe somebody else will laugh at me. So I think all of that processing really takes away from the joy of just being and learning.
Yeah, no, true, absolutely. So, what's the biggest myth of about learning languages?
I think two I'd want to call out here. One would most definitely be that you have to have a natural tendency or ability or an inclination to learn language. I'll tell you what I mean. I've often heard people say things like, I'm not a language person.
Yeah, I heard that too.
You can either be a science person or a language person. I'm not a language person, so I'm not picking up a language. I don't quite believe that. I think language is a skill, and like any other skill, it needs practice. So if you're practicing it, you will be able to apply it.
Okay.
So I think that is one big myth. I don't think you have to be a language learning person, or I don't think it works like that.
Okay.
I feel that if you really want to learn it and you practice it well enough and use it and keep trying to kind of better yourself at it, you learn it. And everybody then is a person who can learn language. The question is, do you want to or do you not want to?
Okay.
That would be one myth. The second one, I think, would be I'm too old to learn a language. And I've had people say that. Like, I've met people and they're like, oh, you teach, you run an institute, you teach languages. Wow, I wish I met you when I was younger. And I'm like, what makes you say that? And they're just like, yeah, because now it's too late, no, for me. And I'm like, no, it's not. I mean, if you want to pick up a language, you can. And like I just gave that story, right, of the person who was 50 plus. But I think she had such a clear intent for learning it. She learned the language so beautifully. Then she went on to actually do her certifications and give her exams also in the language.
Wow.
She just enjoyed it. So we've also had a lot of clients who've needed it at the age of 40, 45 because their company is sending them somewhere where they have to set up a business. This language is now important for them, maybe French, Spanish, German. So now they have to learn it. So they've picked it up.
Right.
So I think age has nothing to do with learning. I think the human brain is built to constantly learn and adapt, and so beautifully. So I don't think we should use age as an excuse to hold us back from learning if we want to or choose to learn a language.
Right. Okay. So what do you think is an underrated skill in terms of language and interpersonal skills which can transform people's career, but it's highly underrated? People probably don't know about it or are not very aware about it.
Honestly, maybe I'm biased when I'm saying this because I'm very passionate about this space, but I think it's communication. Hands down, communication. And why I say this is, I think that all of us feel that we're talking, right? So we know how to communicate. Not realizing, we've been talking all our life, so we know how to communicate. Not realizing that communication is so much more than just talking. It has to do with empathy, it has to do with listening, holding space, your presence, the impact you're able to create with the way you're communicating. And I feel this one skill, it affects the way you lead, it affects the way you resolve conflicts, it, completely changes the way you receive or give feedback. the way you can motivate, inspire your team, it almost feels like it affects everything. Because I'm working very, very closely in this space, I feel like what very often happens with companies also is they tend to either overlook communication or they just bring it down to presentation skills or, public speaking. And it just gets limited to that.
Right.
Whereas, like I said, I think it's so much more because when you really and truly learn to communicate, it shifts the way you begin to show up, and it affects your confidence, your relationships, your leadership capabilities, and everything else. So, I feel that if there's one skill that we could all just really find a way to master, it is communication. Because the more conscious and intentional it becomes, I feel like magic begins to happen. There's so many times when I've heard people say things like, I know this, I'm very good at my work, but nothing's moving forward. And so many times the holdback is nothing but their ability to communicate it. Or think of relationships. I mean, let's also park work aside for a moment. Think of how many relationships
Right.
that just didn't work out. And I'm saying all kinds of relationships just because we didn't know how to communicate.
True.
Or we miscommunicated. So I think that this is one skill that we all need to take the time to consciously learn and become as intentional as possible in the way we communicate, because I think it makes such a big difference. Like, it's really that small. It feels like, okay, what will communication just do? But I think it opens doors, it changes your life and shifts so much.
So since communication is so important, how can one communicate better? How can they master that skill?
Again, I think a lot of practice, definitely. But I think it's also becoming more intentional in the sense that take a step back and know what the purpose of your communication is. I think a lot of times our communication lacks clarity because we lack clarity in terms of why I'm communicating to begin with. So the minute we put down our purpose or our intention and work backwards from there, saying this is the goal I want to achieve, therefore now how should I communicate? I think that automatically makes it, a lot more effective, because now I'm not just speaking at random, but I'm speaking with a very clear thing in mind. This is what I want to achieve. And be it in terms of, the action I want the other person to take, or how I want them to feel, or what I want them to think. And I think we should think on all these parameters, because very often when we are communicating, we get very stuck on the purpose of communication only in terms of what I want the other person to do. Right? But it's very important how I want them to feel and what I want them to think while doing that. So now can I say this, in a way that makes them feel like they want to do this, that makes them think like this is important to them, and then they do it, So I think having that intent in place is very, very useful.
Wow. So communication with intention.
Yeah.
Okay. So we can move towards the entrepreneurship side of questions. So because our viewers also consist of entrepreneurs and aspiring entrepreneurs. So like you said, you initially started out with a couple of students coming to your home and you teaching them. When did that start to scale? How did you land your first major client?
When you say major client, you mean in terms of students or?
It can be students, it can be some corporate client as well.
Okay. Honestly, for my students, I think it was just word of mouth. Because I think what happened is, like I said, right, I started off with just these 2-3 kids their mums asking my mom and me being, I think I was like 23 or 22. It's like so many years ago that I, just started it. And then it just built very naturally and very organically. In fact, at that point in time, if I remember correctly, there was no advertising involved either. In the first 1 or 2 years of Lingo Nest, I think we barely advertised. It was all word of mouth. And I think that people have been so kind. And honestly, I really value my very first students, because I never even asked them, but they always went out and said, no, if you want to study French, then eventually you want to study English, you want to study Spanish, please go here. And they've just done it for us, and we're so, so grateful for that. So I think that happened very organically. Our first big corporate client, also interestingly enough, was by chance.
Oh,
So we in fact never even thought of entering the space of corporates back then. I think it had a lot to do with just me also not feeling confident enough. But I think, see, again, that's why I keep saying I feel like a lot of this, like the path or the spaces, just kept choosing me. I didn't really plan it, and every time I talk about it, I feel so grateful. So I had a friend who was in HR, and she called me up one day saying that our company is looking for like a communication training program. Would you be interested? I was like, yeah, okay. So the one thing I learned was you have to say yes.
say yes.
Say yes. And especially in the beginning, say, even if you're not sure, and you can always share that. I've not done this before because, of course, we don't want to mislead anyone. But I told her, I was like, I've never done this before, but I will give my 100 plus and you can tell me. So I'll run everything by you. And she was like, okay, let's go for it. And that's how we actually moved into the corporate training space. Up until then, there was no plan to do it. But it so happened that she was in a position to take that call. She offered it to, Lingo Nest and team. And I mean, when she reached out to me, I was like, yes. Like, there is no other response. It's yes, let's go.
Okay.
So I think that really helped.
So in terms of students, it was purely based on word of mouth, and this was by chance. So your second and subsequent clients in terms of corporate, how did you acquire them?
Then we slowly started reaching out to people, or that even within the corporates, what I've realized is, see, when you do a good project or deliver good results, people are very kind to pass on the word, and you don't really have to, do much. So I feel like that again. So what happened is this friend that I'm specifically talking about, she moved to another company. Then she got us on board there.
Oh, wow.
Then people in that company, there were few of them who, left and moved to some other company, but they already had my contact. So then they reached out saying, okay, here also we're looking for training. Why don't you come in here? So I think a lot of it happened like that. A lot of it happened with me sharing things on LinkedIn then,
Okay.
which, when I did that very consistently for a while in terms of these are the kind of training programs I'm doing, this is what I offer, then I had people reach out to me and then say that, okay, let's meet up and we'll give you the brief and send in the proposal. So I think one was that. Second was a lot of, again, even there, like just because people left from the company, went to the other company, now they were looking for trainers, they gave in our name, and then we had meetings. I think goodwill in many ways.
Goodwill. And how do you design these sessions or trainings that create impact and provide value to the clients?
So usually what I do is any client, because I have been working across age groups and needs and requirements. I think the first thing I always bring it down to is what do they really need? And I take a lot of time to understand that. I think that sometimes my clients might get very irritated also saying that she's asking us to think about all these things that we were not thinking about. But I think it's so crucial because that's what decides, whether they're eventually going to have value in what I'm delivering or not. So I do a lot of homework in terms of understanding where they are at, what they need. I ask them all kinds of questions. I'll keep asking for repeat calls to really know what is it that you're trying to achieve at the end of the session. So once I have that, in context, then I design my program according to the needs, the requirements, and they're always very unique. So I get very uncomfortable when someone calls me up and says, will you do a communication program or will you do a leadership program? Okay, tell me more. Because what's communication for one company, what that communication program will look like for one company, it's not going to look like the same for the other, right?
Right.
So I think understanding those unique needs,
Right.
requirements, and then designing the program around that. But what I always try to do is make the programs as interactive, as engaging, and as experiential as possible. Because one thing that I have seen time and again is the minute you start teaching or preaching, it doesn't work. But the minute they get into the act of doing it and then they come back and they're like, oh, this is how it connects. So this is, you actually get the aha moments. They actually experience how this will change, create change in the way they deliver or the way they do things.
Okay.
So I try to keep the training programs as engaging, interactive, and immersive as possible.
Can you share a few requirements of your corporate clients? Like when you ask detailed questions, what do they exactly say in their detailed answers? When they reach out to you, they initially say they want this training session. Then you come with a follow-up questions. So what are the various requirements which they come out to you with?
So let's say, for example, communication. Now, I've seen so many varied requirements around this, right? For someone, it's like these are the first-time managers. They don't know how to deliver feedback.
Oh,
So it's communication, but it's also what is the art of giving that feedback now that it's the first time I'm in a position where I have to give it. So the training could be that niche.
So then you design your session accordingly.
Sometimes
Okay.
nowadays there's so many requirements in terms of how do you handle the new generation,
Okay.
Gen Z, how do you talk to them? There are a lot of other requirements in terms of, sometimes it's about, okay, how to do a meeting actually.
Oh,
An effective meeting. How do I conduct an effective meeting? Because very often I feel like I lose my team when I'm doing a meeting. Or they're on their phone scrolling. So how do I actually ensure that it's, effective? So I think the more you kind of push, then within that, what's the requirement. Sometimes it's as simple as like business communication module.
okay.
Sometimes it's client management. But again, to do with communication.
Okay.
So how do I speak to build trust with my client? What are the aspects that I need to be very careful about when I'm kind of presenting myself for the first time? So I think there are all these kinds of things. So when you kind of get into the questioning, you realize the nuances. Otherwise, theme-wise, it's just like, okay, leadership or communication.
And how do you personally, educate yourself on this like niche or specific topic to further help the clients? Do you have any like research going on, or what's your process like?
So I study and read a lot.
Okay.
I am constantly picking up courses, and getting myself certified in the areas so the more I've realized this is something that, I'm passionate about or feels like my calling or my purpose, then I try and kind of, build on it and I practice it. So there's a lot of reading. I watch a lot of videos.
Okay.
I attend a lot of courses and classes, sometimes so much so that my mother's just like, are you ever going to stop studying? She's like, again, a new course? And I'm like, yeah. And this year, in fact, I've sort of overdone it if you ask my mother, because I did a certification in NLP, which is Neuro-Linguistic Programming.
Right,
So
yeah.
again, a lot about communication and, how language works and helps. So I did the introductory and then I did the master's right after. So it was too many hours of dedication to studying that.
Okay.
So yeah, my mom's always like, when will you stop studying? We thought there comes a point in time where the education is done.
Yeah,
Because
but
every time she's calling me, she's like, oh, again you're studying now. I'm like, yeah. But I think that this field also requires it. So usually it's a lot of reading, a lot of studying. I also talk to a lot of people. I think I've been very, very fortunate to meet people who are really good at what they do. And
Okay.
I've gotten the chance to watch them. So all
Wow.
these teachers also with whom I've done the courses, I often feel like I'm attending the course as two students, one who's learning the matter and one who's learning is how they're training or teaching.
Okay.
And they're so good at their craft. And I've honestly, every course I've picked up, I'm so fortunate that I have had the best teachers.
Wow.
So I think that also really helps.
Okay. So in this crowded market with so many apps teaching languages and so many platforms being there, how do you approach pricing?
I think I approach pricing from a very experienced kind or point of view, standpoint, right? So again, goes back to saying that all these apps, yes, they're giving a lot of content, and there's no taking away from that. And some fantastic content is, being created over there. But again, I think as teachers and trainers, there is an experience that we are creating, right? So as a coach, let's say, for example, I'm able to see when you're resisting or hesitating somewhere. And that's where I'll ask you a question,
Okay.
that will make you think, for example. Or as a teacher or a trainer, I'm able to create psychologically safe spaces where you're able to talk about what really is the challenge. Because it's not always the content. Or it's not like we don't have access to content. We have it.
Right.
But we're still not being able to learn. right? And why is that happening? And that has to do something that's very unique to my challenges. And as a teacher and a trainer, we actually help you also address that while you're learning whatever it is that you're learning. So I think it all comes down to what is the experience I'm being able to create for my students or my trainees. And everything that we do from a pricing standpoint comes from that space. So what is the value? What is the impact I'm creating, the value I'm giving, and the experience I'm creating?
Okay.
And then when I think I look at it from that sense, I don't really think that any of these apps are even a comparison or a competition standpoint. In fact, they're tools that we need to use.
Right.
And that's that.
Okay.
I don't know if that answers the
Yeah. I
question.
mean, also the purpose of asking this was, for example, if somebody else watching this podcast wants to start something similar to what you do, and if they have no idea of how to price their service, so probably seeing this clip or seeing this podcast, they would probably have a fair idea of how to go about pricing. But like you mentioned, it's value driven. It's about experience related. So I think considering that as a base, one has to figure that out.
Yeah. Someone told me this some years ago, which is, what is it that, you can do, which is very unique, and how do you do that very uniquely?
Oh, wow.
And focus on these two aspects. Because today in the market, I don't think that, there are enough options, right? And standing out is not about doing more than what someone else is doing, but it's about being different. And that difference comes from who you are. So really take that moment to think about, how am I what is it that I can do, which is very, very different, very unique, and how do I do this thing so uniquely? And just bring that and keep working on that.
Wow.
Because
Nice.
then it's not about, so we've also had, you're talking about apps, no? We've also had questions like, but this class, no, doesn't cost so much, but you do.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Because this class is giving you something which believes that it should be costed at this. We are giving you something which we believe should be costed at this. So there's no comparison. And you're always allowed to try. We give demo sessions, we allow you to have the experience and take a call.
Okay.
And if you feel that it's not what you're looking for, I completely respect that decision. But if you tell me that it's not, you shouldn't price it like that, I'm not sure. That's something I would, listen to, because I know what we are bringing in terms of value and experience. So.
Okay. No, that's pretty well said. So when you were initially starting out, what challenges did you face in terms of setting up Lingo Nest, in terms of whether it's getting revenue every month, whether it's setting up your team? What were the various challenges which you faced?
I think the biggest challenge that I faced was just managing all of it.
Okay.
In the sense that before that I was teaching and I was only a teacher, right? The minute I set up Lingo Nest, it became like a business I'm handling, an organization, because slowly there were other teachers. So I had teachers, I had students, I had the parents of students, especially when they're younger, so they become, your entire client. And then you have your own delivery, your own content, which you have to present, prepare. So I think managing all of that was something I really struggled with. Also, I don't come from a business background at all.
Okay.
And no one, that was one thing I felt, unfortunately, no one in my family had ever done business.
Okay.
So even in fact, I still remember when I decided or said that this is what I'm going to do, as my dad was super supportive, my mom was very scared. I won't say that she didn't support. She obviously wanted to, be there, but she was so scared. She's like, Niyati, there's nobody you're going to be able to ask, who's going to help you out and how you're going to figure. So there's no background in our family. Like, there's no one who I could have reached out to. I think that I felt that gap really at that point in time. And neither had I gotten certificates or, there was no formal education I had done in how to start a business, how to build it, how to grow it. So these were things that I had not done at all. So I really, really struggled to just understand, so now I'm a teacher, but now suddenly I'm also speaking to another teacher in my team, so I am her leader. And now I'm talking to a client or to a parent, and I have to, and the parent is not even my student's parent, it is this teacher's parent. So I don't even know what has happened. Now I have to figure. So, all these things. But I think you learn, you keep learning. And then, of course, I did courses. I did reach out to people who've been in business and, have done it. And they were like, you need to put these systems, you need to put these processes. In fact, it's after all these years, I recently did this workshop that I don't know if you've heard of Rajiv Talreja.
Yeah, of course.
He's big on, right? So I did his business, the PACE program.
Okay.
And I think that was also really, really useful.
Quantum Leap, right?
Quantum Leap, yes. So I did his PACE program, and I think that was also very useful for me.
Okay.
So I think I'm still learning. I'm just better equipped to handle the problems now than I was back then.
Okay.
Back then, it just felt like, what is happening? And then there are some days your phone is just ringing and this has gone wrong and that has gone wrong. And, you're also the person setting up the classroom. You're also the person sometimes, doing the jhadu because the maid hasn't come. And I'm like, what is happening? So, yeah. But I think in time you learn how to manage all of that.
And did you commit any mistake early on which, later turned out to be a very powerful lesson which you learned?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest mistakes I feel that I committed is I didn't know how to take feedback from my clients.
Oh.
So I either took it too seriously, which is like, okay, they said this, I completely took all of it and made all the changes immediately to our processes or whatever we were, doing and how we were operating. Or I took it to the other extreme where I was like, I'm just going to shut out and not going to listen to anything they've said.
Okay.
So I didn't know how to filter feedback.
Okay.
To really take a moment to sit down with it and say, okay, this is what they've said. Now let's break it down. What's actually useful for me? What is actually going to bring me value? What are things that I need to actually leave aside? They're not really, relevant in this context. And now let me move forward with this feedback.
Okay.
And I think I always mixed people and the person giving the feedback and the feedback, which is such a big mistake to do. Because you tend to feel like whenever this person gives me feedback, I'll take it. But when this person gives me, I will not take it.
Okay.
So actually separating the person from the feedback, because the person who I'm saying I don't want feedback from is maybe someone I don't personally like, but their feedback could be very valuable, right? So I think I learned that I need to find my balance and learn how to take feedback. And I think the day I did that, or from the day I started to do that, it really helped me grow. Because then I knew how to, one, not get defensive or get very upset by it or take it personally. So I also learned how to take it. I learned how to filter it. And then I learned how to use it to my advantage.
Okay.
And there's a lot of power in the feedback that our clients give us, And honestly, your most difficult clients will make you the best provider or, whatever field you're working in will make you really, really good or one of the best at it. Because it's through them you learn, what are the issues, what are the problems, what I need to take from here. So I think there's a lot of learning there.
This last line I've actually heard from a lot of our other speakers as well.
Yeah.
The toughest clients, the toughest situations actually you tend to learn the most from them.
Biggest lessons.
Lessons.
I mean, you hate it when it's happening and you're like, why is this happening to me? But there is so much learning.
And say for someone like just starting out, a freshly qualified person who wants to get into a similar field like yours,
Right.
What advice do you have for them? In setting up a coaching, training, felicitation space. Yeah.
I think make sure that you really love it.
Okay.
Please be sure that you genuinely and really love it. And that you come with the intent of being of service to the field. Because I think that this is one field, wherein you're really impacting or have the power to impact so many lives in a really, really beautiful way. So make sure you're coming with that intent. I think that's very, very important. I also feel that, in this field, there is so much investment in self and of self, both. And who you are has a big impact on what you can offer and more importantly, how you can offer it. So you have to keep growing to be able to give more. You know,
Right.
I think so. There's so much personal growth and the investment in that growth, and recognizing and realizing that at every point in your life that, this is where I didn't do well, or this is where I didn't come through and I should have done well. I think those bits are very, very important. So it takes, you put in a lot. Okay, so, and the only way you can do that is if you really genuinely love it and believe in it. So just make sure you really, really love it before, because in many ways, or sometimes it can often, and I've heard a lot of the new teachers in my team, always say it's such a thankless job.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say partly yes, partly not, because ultimately, it is so rewarding, even if someone may not necessarily always say thank you to you. And it will only feel rewarding if you love it, that way. Which is why I'm saying that be damn sure that you love it. Like really, really see yourself doing this, because it's going to take a lot of you to do it, is what I feel.
Wow, very, very well said. What was your personal moment where you thought that this is what I'm meant to do as a career?
To be honest, I keep oscillating, okay? Because on the tough days, I'm like, why did I choose this? And I've been through that as well. But no, honestly, every time I'm in a room surrounded by students or trainees, or, and I'm doing those sessions, and, there are these moments where you can see the shift happen. And, they're not always grand moments. Sometimes they're happening very subtly, but you can see someone who walked into that room, into your training program, completely feeling like, okay, I'll just get through the next 2 hours, is suddenly switching and getting interested and, sitting up and like, what did you just say? And, you resonate and you connect. And that's so beautiful. That's so beautiful. Takes me back also to one story of this one student of mine. She stayed back. She was struggling with French, and she stayed back. And she was working because she's like, I need to work extra, etc. And then she just looked at me because all the other students had left, and there was this transition period. So we had a few moments alone. And she looked at me, she's like, do you really believe that I can do well in French? And I'm like, yeah. She's like, no, don't just say it. Do you really think that I'm capable of doing well? I'm like, yes, which is why I'm telling you, just need to put in this effort and you will do well. And suddenly her face was like, oh, okay, I can do well. So you're not keeping me back to punish me. You actually believe that I can do well, so you want me to put effort. And that one thing, after that student's taken off, and how she kept doing well in every paper after that. Now she's finished her 10th, and now she wants to do the DELF exam, and she's enrolled for that program as well. And the only shift that was needed was for someone to tell her, her teacher to tell her, yeah, I actually believe in you.
Wow.
So I think there are these moments of magic, and I think, yeah, that's really what it is.
And there's another reason which like why AI can't replace this entirely.
Yeah. Yes.
So I have a few rapid fire questions for you.
Okay.
A language you still want to master?
I think it still is English and French.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't think I've mastered it. Not even close.
A soft skill that changed your life?
Communication.
If someone could master only one interpersonal skill in 2025, what should it be and why?
Communication.
One powerful shift you wish more people made in how they speak, lead and learn?
I think being fully present. And not just physically, but entirely there emotionally and mentally. I think the kind of conversations that happen when you're fully present are life-changing.
Wow.
So, full presence.
I also wanted to ask you, what does the role of psychology, which you studied in your education in London School of Economics, helped you in your career and entrepreneurship?
I think it's helped me so much because, one, in terms of understanding human behavior, right, and it plays such a big role in that. So I think I'm able to really connect with people to understand what is it that they're really looking for or wanting to do, and then kind of be able to offer or meet those needs because I really understand them. I also feel in my entire journey psychology in many ways teaches you to become responsible for, the outcomes that you get. Right? So it's not always about this didn't work out or this person did this, so it didn't work out. So I think in many ways it's shaped the way I perceive the world, the way I see things, the kind of principles that I have, lived by or started to live by. And because of that, it helps me really take responsibility in my life for what is happening. So each time something goes wrong, I'm able to like really take a step back and ask myself, what did I do wrong here? Or what could I do better here? And I think most of the times that itself solves more than half the problem. So I think really looking inward rather than outward, and understanding that all the answers to the problems are with you or within reach, and it's your responsibility to find that. I think it makes you very, very self-dependent.
Okay.
So I think that's how it's helped me in my journey, and also helped me stay, because it's very easy to get anxious or
Right.
worked up, and there are moments when you're just like, why did I choose this? Or, why did I decide that I want to build something of my own? And that has happened to me, and it happens to me quite a few times. But in those moments, I think you're able to find your center and anchor yourself and then just kind of work through all of that. And I think in so many ways, psychology has helped me find that, those ways of coming back to me and saying that it's okay. We'll find a way.
So, would you recommend somebody starting out who doesn't have a background in psychology to also pursue psychology in some or the other way?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think it really, really helps. I also feel a lot of the self-work or the inner work we talk about is a lot of this, right? Understanding these principles. So it may not be taking a psychology course, as much as it's about learning about things that will help you become stronger and will just help with your inner growth. So
Okay.
definitely pick up courses on that, because when you're starting something of your own, your energy impacts the energy of what you're building.
True.
So I have to find all the ways that I can to keep my energy in check and make sure that it's coming from the most healthiest space possible for me at this point in time.
Right.
So any course that helps with that, go
Okay.
for it.
So, thank you, Niyati, for taking the time out and joining us today. It was a pleasure having you here.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Thank you for watching this episode till the very end. If you found this episode to be insightful, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. And let us know your feedback in the comment section below. Thank you.